I'm Mel Stewart, and this is the SwimSwam podcast. Joining me today, Coleman Hodges, SwimSwam's head of production, and we're bringing back a historian today, a PDR alum. PDR is Pride, Determination, Resilience, Philadelphia Department of Recreation, the first black swimming team in the United States. We're bringing back Trevor Freeland. How you doing, buddy?
How you doing? How you doing, Mel? Good to see you.
We had to bring you back because we didn't have enough time the last time, and we wanted to focus on the history of PDR. We wanted to focus on alums and this great program and what it's done for swimming. At the outset, we got to go ahead and put everybody in place and let them know where we're at and what we're thinking. We're, of course, in the aftermath of the murder of George Floyd, and this national moment of pause where everybody's thinking. And in swim, the metrics, the numbers, they tell us the truth. The truth is our sport does not look like the United States. It does not reflect the way the United States is broken down. We have 1.5% black swimmers in the United States registered with USA Swimming, 6% mixed. And if we want to be successful as a sport, we've got to change the culture, which frankly began and was lily white, a descendant of country club swimming, and a lot of privilege. So, Trevor, just on the outset, let's just dive right in. We got to change that. How, I don't want to just hit you over the head with it, but how do we change that? Big question.
Yeah. So, Mel, you asked me this, and you said, how do we go forward? How do we eradicate racism? And I would say that racism is probably one of the biggest cancers affecting our country. And when, God forbid anyone get diagnosed with cancer of any form, but if you do, what happens? There's swift and immediate action. Okay, you immediately map out when you can have an operation to remove it, what are the next steps. There's no hesitation. There is no, non dealing with it, or like let's just say non-racist. You become anti-cancer, anti-racist. Okay, so you take immediate action. You have the operation. You have the operation. If you need to have treatment first and get ready for it, and then have it, you have it, and then hopefully it's successful and it's gone. But how do you monitor it going afterwards? You have treatment. Okay, you have checkups. You make sure that if you have to have continual radiation, make sure there aren't any ramifications. You do that, and then you have checkups to make sure it's gone. And if something comes back, then you treat it. You just don't act like it doesn't exist. Okay, and that's the best thing I could say in terms of how we go forward. If we treat racism like the cancer that it is, the way we treat the disease that everyone hates in this world, which is cancer, then I think we'll be fine. And we have to be comfortable being uncomfortable. If anyone has ever heard that 5-letter word said to them in any way, shape, or form, you become uncomfortable. What do? You get comfortable with it, and you move forward. We got to do the same thing. That's the best way I could put it.
Getting comfortable
in a way where everyone can relate.
I think that's concise. I think it certainly positions everybody. It's like, look, this is what we're up against. It's serious, and it's in talking to you now. Like last night, I watched the HBO documentary with Michael Phelps, and it's a call to action, and it's a big call to action. I don't know. Did you see it?
I did not.
Yeah,
check it out this weekend.
So it's mental health, but mental health is. But what? Here's the thing. And how it's applicable. Basically, the greatest Olympian of all time laid bare that, if I busted my knee, if something went wrong, if something was wrong in our sport, we had things to take care of us physically, but nobody cared beyond that if it was mental health. But it's in the same bucket. If there's been a problem in the sport, if it's not about kids on the way to success, it seems like nobody wants to roll their sleeves up on issues that are uncomfortable. And but that's what we know as athletes is that's not who we are. We've been taught to face all of everything head on, and you can't get around it. You've got to move through it.
Right.
It's so we don't have this experience. We don't. It's in our private talks, it's always been, hey, buddy, I'm where am I? You taught me, Mel, you're non-racist or anti-racist, and you got to figure out where you are on that spectrum. And I'm doing my best to move to anti-racist. It's in terms of the history, in terms of sport, people need to know this about you. You swam PDR, but you also swam for UVA. You graduated undergrad, and then you went on to get your MBA at Duke. You're now the managing director of Deutsche Bank. Did I do that correctly?
Correct.
Correct. It's I think it's helpful for people to know our history and helpful to know where we come from. And PDR was the famous team that was memorialized in the Lionsgate film Pride. We wanted to bring you in and talk about alums. It's who came out of this program, and you know what? I know it's you. I know Michael Norman. I know one other famous swimmer, Kevin Hart, one of the biggest comedians on earth.
Correct.
But I was hoping you'd come in and educate us a little more about this team and why they're so important.
Sure. And I'll take it back to when I started in the 70s. And we had a very unique phenomenon in Philly in that we actually had three predominantly are all black swim teams with black coaches in one city. Okay, so that in itself is crazy. Most people didn't know that. And when we set out, when Jim Ellis formed the team, and before it was PDR, it was the Sarah Aquatic Association. That's where I learned how to swim. And that was in the heart of West Philadelphia in the early 70s. It was a pretty rough area. Although we wanted to be the best team in the city, there'd actually be a swim meet within the city with 3 different teams that were all black swimming in the early 70s. We always strove to be the best and we want to win, but at the end of the day, Jim's vision was bigger than that. He wanted to become one of the best teams on the highest level we could possibly become nationally. And he set out, that started in 1971 when I was 5 years old and started swimming. And so we would routinely have city meets where it was the Polar Bears versus the Tiger Sharks versus Sayre. Those are the 3 teams. And we took it the farthest and had the biggest national footprint. But I remember we would sometimes have practices, and those practices were, they would be almost like a meet. Because you had to show up, you didn't want to lose to anybody. You knew who your rivals were. They all went to different high schools in the city. These were all black people. We literally have it's almost like if you had, say it was in Florida, and you had Bowles swimming with Pinecrest, swimming with one of the other teams, like the Miami Hurricanes. Okay, and it was fun. It was very it was kind of like playing pickup basketball, that type of mentality where you wanted to win. And that was what we kind of brought to the sport, is we brought more of an urban feel, but we were still swimming, and we learned how to swim and apply that passion. Okay, there was a lot of trash talking. There was a lot of, you wanted to beat the president, but then when it was over, we were friends. So that transitioned, and we became better and better and better. Then in the late 70s, that's when we had our first national age group ranking, 1979. It was our 11 and 12-year-old male 200-meter freestyle relay. That is why you had the relay that was so prevalent in the Pride the Pride movie, is because that was one of the things that we were known for from the time I was 10 and under to 11 and 12. We had a foursome that almost never lost on the East Coast. We ended up swimming a lot of rivalries with some prominent swimmers that came out of Mid-Atlantic, whether it be Jeff Pryor and Sean Killian that swam at Cal Berkeley, 2 of my childhood friends that we talk to this day. Now the Desk and Lascaux at Cal, they told us that we have to definitely show up. They've got uniforms for us. We have to come to the meets with them. Dave Burkhoff is another one that swam with us, and we beat all the relays. So 4 black kids, we always beat them. And it was, we chat about it to this day. And after the first podcast, they had a lot of comments. If you look at when I posted it, and we were talking about it, how much fun we had back in the day. So then you fast forward to 83, which when I was the first person to make a national cut. Then I went off to UVA after that. And then the clock reset. Jim went back to the drawing board, and he came out with 4 kids. He called them the termites because they were so small. I was pretty tall, lanky kid. These guys were midgets compared to me. But they broke the
I can't imagine you as lanky.
Very.
If you don't know, if you guys don't know Trevor, Trevor is a tall man. He's fit. He's fit. He's big. He's fit.
I was lanky, skinny.
You were lanky back then. It's hard to believe. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're super fit.
No, very skinny. Only two people believed me back then. My mother, Ernestine Freeland, who did everything for me, got me to the meets, practice, sacrificed her entire life to make sure my brother and I had what we needed. And Jim Ellis, he believed in me as well, because my brother was the age group superstar. So 1988, fast forward, we break the national age group record in the 200 medley relay for 10 under boys. They went 2:06.7, I believe it was. I was back to watch it. I just graduated, or was getting ready to graduate from UVA, and I heard about all the things they were doing, and they broke this record. It was insane. It stood until relay from North Baltimore with when Michael Phelps took it down. That's a fact, and Michael, I think, knows that.
This is why we want to talk to you, because like that's an incredible record. But to know that record, they had to have Michael Phelps to take that record down. Because all records aren't the same. Some records are more impressive. That's a more impressive record. We can all agree on that.
Yeah, and so then one of the stars of that relay, because usually when you have an age group record-setting relay, you always have one swimmer that's going to be a little better than the rest, or there's going to be a standout swimmer to help give you that advantage. That was Atiba Wade, who followed Michael Norman to Georgia, swam for Jack Barrowley. He was an NCAA, I think he made All-America one year. He was an SEC finalist in all of his events for 4 years, very versatile athlete. He was like on the smaller side because he's part of the termites, but he had hops like Caleb Dressel. He could jump. He's very athletic, very fit. That summer he broke the national age group record in the 50-meter breaststroke by almost like 8 or 9 tenths. He went like 36:30. It stood for a long time, and actually to this day, with all the different stars that have come through Middle Atlantic swimming, including Reese Whitley, he still has the Middle Atlantic record for the 50 and 100-meter breaststroke that was set in 1988, 32 years ago. So they still stand. So that set a time frame where that was the explosion of PDR swimming, and what kind of like the movie really it started and told a story in terms of when I started and a lot of the racial inequity that existed and the struggle to be great. But we took it from a national level, an age group level, to these guys just like not the ball out of the park in terms of success. One of the things they did after the national age group record, they set that. So in 1 year we set an individual record and a relay record. Then you fast forward to the 90s, you had Jason Webb, who followed me to UVA, and Chucky Cox, who swam for a rival Wilmington Aquatic Club, but he was an African-American swimmer. And one thing that our team had was a lot of energy and swagger, and it was attractive to many, many, many African-American swimmers, because back then, most of them swam on all-white teams. Here you have a black coach, a lot of swag, everyone loves him, everyone knows him, and you have a predominantly black team, and we're winning. So that's a dream. Okay, people like came, like we had Greg Goldberg left Petty, swam for us. He was coached by Chris Martin, who totally understood it, because he's like, look, I would have loved to have swum for PDR back in the day when he was a GA. So we went and did two things. We won the medley relay juniors for 3 straight meets. So, and we beat Bowles, we beat Pinecrest, we beat Mecklenburg. First time we beat them was in Buffalo. Then we went to Alabama, Tuscaloosa. Chucky Cox had left Wilmington and joined our team. Okay, Jason and Chucky went 1-2 and 100 back. Two black men, 1-2 with Olympic trial cuts in high school in the 90s, which is crazy. You know that. That's hard to do. So the relay comes up. We had just won in Buffalo, and everyone's gearing, because we were like an unknown quantity. We were in the outside lane. No one had really knew who we were. Not a nationally recognized team. We won it again, and they set the junior national record. So now we wanted to do the 3P, because that you always want to 3P something. So this is the last time we're going to do it, because they're going to be going to college. So that was in Tennessee. And I remember Jim got interviewed before the meet started, and he said in the press, it was almost like he was giving them locker room fodder, but like, we're going to 3P this relay. And so you had the 200 backstroke, the 200 breaststroke, and then the medley relay. Jason Webb wins the 200 backstroke, come from behind victory, junior national record. Michael Norman wins the 200 breaststroke, goes 2:00.8. He won by 2.5 seconds. Okay. Then we get up in the medley relay, and we win that. And we beat a Greg Troy coach Bowles team, and that was our three-peat. So again, it was a black team, black coach. It was in the 90s. 3 consecutive victories. You know, you don't really get that from the movie, but that was one of the reasons why they had the relays were so predominant in that story. And if you watch the movie, because of what we were able to accomplish. And I guess the grand finale was when you had Byron Davis come swim with us, who's somebody you competed with. And in the 1992 Nationals, after Mission Day, after Barcelona, we got 4th in the 400 medley relay. We won the B heat and beat everybody but the top 3 teams in the A heat. So you had 4 African-American men standing up at a national championship on a relay coached by a black coach, excuse me. So those are some of the people that swam with the team. You had a lot. Danielle Strader left Germantown Academy and left when she came up from Texas one summer, swam for us for the last 2 or 3 years. She loved it. You had several swimmers leave. Foxcatcher come swim with us. You had obviously Mike Norman, national team breaststroker, went to Georgia with Atiba Wade. And you had Tony Dool, left the team in LA, came and swam with us. Jess Withy was an NCAA swimmer at Syracuse, swam with us. Namesy Ammon swam at Florida State, came and swam with us. So it got to the point where you had, at one point, you had probably 10 to 15 national qualifiers between 2 ends of a pool, of a 6-lane indoor pool, which was, you know, by no standards a natatorium. It was more like a recreational pool with lane lines. But practices were intense, and we had a great time. So we've had several national qualifiers, Olympic trial qualifiers. We had Brielle White, I think 4th? Yeah, 4th in the 200 back in the 2004 Olympic trials, ones that were outside California. Brian Walters, who swam with us after he graduated from Northwestern, he got 3rd in the 200 backstroke to Kraselberg, and it might have been Rouse. I'm not sure who the 3rd other person was. It might have been 100, but he got 3rd. And, you know, now I guess our most prominent swimmer will be Dustin Lasco, who's on his way to Cal Berkeley right now as we speak. But
it's so many questions come to mind, and it's you're an extremely positive person. You seem like nothing rattles you, and so I want to know this. In all that success, on the trajectory with having all this success, watching this happen, you know what? I got to be honest with you. If I was competing, because I wasn't competing in the area at the time. If I was competing and I saw this, I would be stopping and staring. It would be such an unusual thing to see culturally. You know, what did you feel like? You said they said the team had swagger, but
we did.
What did you feel like?
Swagger. We always wanted to do it with style in class. That was Jim's one of his hallmarks. You know, we never wanted to feel like we had to be something that we weren't, and we never wanted to feel like we we belonged. We were going to walk in and act like we belonged, and we were going to be assertive, and we were going to take this to the highest level possible and do it with style and class. I remember when I showed up at UVA, and I always dressed well when we traveled, and people would always comment, some of my teammates' parents, like, Trevor's always dressed so well, but that's how we dress when we travel at PDR. And I remember, this is a funny story, but I'm talking about Atiba Wade. We went down to this big invitational in Greensboro, 2 charter buses. It's where Todd DeSorbo, who now is the coach of UVA, swam. And he was a big age group superstar. He and his brother and another set of brothers, the Counts brothers. And this is when we took our national age group setting medley relay record. National age group setting relay down. That was when they were together, and that was they were in their prime. They went down there. They didn't know who we were. We were a team from Philadelphia. We roll in, you know, everybody's like great sweatsuits, you know, dressed uniformly, get off the bus, nice bus outside. And the GSA had some great relays at that time. And DeSorbo, I remember he told me, he's like, Trevor, I know who you are. I remember, because when I met him, he told me this story. That's how I know. Because at that time, I was actually still UVA. He said, you guys, and I knew we were going down to meet because I talked to Jim so much. But they rolled in, and DeSorbo thought he could swim breaststroke, and he swam against a T-bird. He said, he beat me so bad, I never want to swim breaststroke ever again. And, you know, later that summer, he sets the national age record, the 50-meter breaststroke. That stands for at least 10 years. It was kind of the way we kind of rolled, and that was how we were taught. And you're going to walk in, you're going to be respectful, but you're going to be assertive. Okay. And yeah, people would stare, but hey, it is what it is.
Yeah, no, I'm going to put this. Let's just get right to it. Did it make you uncomfortable? Did you, inside the culture of swim when you're a kid, did it make you? Did you ever feel uncomfortable because it was different?
Not really, because we love the sport, and only if someone said something that was only if there was more of a microaggression, as we talked about before. No, I mean, it's gonna happen, but you let it roll off your back. And Jim kind of insulated us from that, and he kept us from some of the things that happened. He kind of like took that on as something that he would deal with. But I mean, we were aware of it. To say we weren't aware of it would I wouldn't be truthful. We were aware of it, but you just keep rolling. It's part of being Black in America. Okay, and if you're gonna swim, then it's definitely going to be part of it. So it was something we were aware of, but we just dealt with it and we moved forward.
Sounds like Jim. Sounds like Jim's a towering figure. I'm sorry I even have to ask this. I asked you if it was ever uncomfortable. I appreciate.
There's one instance where I was definitely uncomfortable. I'll never forget this. I was because it was at our home pool, so we swam at John B. Kelly Pool, home of the 1976 National U.S. Swimming Championships. It's a fantastic pool outside. That's where Jonty Skinner went 49.44 in the 100 free. Broke the world record after Jim Montgomery went 49.99 in Montreal, but they weren't allowed to go because of the boycott. South Africans couldn't go, so he didn't get to swim. And then 3 weeks later, after the Olympics in Montreal, he goes a half a second faster. That swim was amazing. I watched it. So a year later, we're having the Philadelphia Swimming Directors Society, PSDS. It was probably like the East Coast Championships. It was the best teams on the East Coast swam. That's where I got to know Sean Killian, Jeff Pryor, Burkhoff. I swam against them all. You have Umley there, Upper Main Line Y. You have Burnell's Gators there. You have Germantown, Foxcatcher, all the biggest teams on the East Coast were there. And I was 10 years old, and I'm walking into the meet. Standard issue arena swim bag from back in the day, little pocket for the goggles on the side. Now it's the backpacks. Back then you had the shoulder bags, okay? Pool buoy, kickboard. I'm walking in with the whole thing. A woman stops me. It's for finals. She's like, excuse me, where are you going? And I'm looking at her. I'm like, okay, I have a bag, kickboard, pool buoy, standard arena, like standard issue. Where am I going? Where do you think I'm going? Like, and she's like, I'm swimming. Like, well, you want to show me your name on a heat sheet? I'm like, so now when does anyone ever do that? I did it. I got in there. I won the 50 freestyle. And the funny thing is, I'm reminded of that because the person when I won, that's back in the day when you had Omega timing and you had the silver tapes. And the woman who was doing the timing was one of the Walsh sisters, who was a really phenomenal swimming family from Vesper Boat Club. And her daughter now swims at UVA. And so she actually, I remember she came up to me at one meet and I was there. She said, hey, I think I know your mom. My mom. I said, I know just who you're talking about. And I know your mom. Tell her I said hello. But think about that. But that's crazy. You walk in, somebody stopping you, like, ask me where are you going? Where do you think I'm going? I could see if I had a basketball shorts, I'm going to a swim meet where that you could ask someone that question, whether they're white, black, brown, whatever. I have a swimming bag. I have a pool buoy, and I have a kickboard. All my stuff to warm up in. And this is the pool that I swim in every day at 7:30. So I know the woman. Person became, friends with my family, and it's something I'll never forget because then they acted like it was no big deal. But I'm never gonna forget that because there's only one reason why you stopped me and asked me where I was going. And it was funny because I walked out afterwards and I won. Okay, and you don't want to let me come in and warm up. So
well, we have to ask the question, and I know that's one example, and you have more examples, but it's and the other question is this: Did you ever feel unsafe ever when you were with Jim and you were with the team and you were moving together as a team, it sounded like there's something happens when you're with a team. You feel stronger, you feel protected, you feel good, no matter what. But inside PDR and that experience when you were in your formative years, did you ever feel unsafe in that traveling, competing?
Never.
Never.
Jim took great care of us. The parents that we had a strong parent base. My mother was a part of that. She was leading the pack, and you had, and it's funny, you had a lot of fathers there too, because they talk about black families and the fathers not being present. But we traveled as a group. A lot of the fathers were always there with them, with us. Excuse me, mine wasn't, but we had a group, a nice following of people. I think we were always safe. We didn't feel like we weren't. And I got to tell you, it was a very welcoming environment. Like I said, when we swam in Middle Atlantic, that was when Middle Atlantic was one of the top 3 LSCs in the country in swimming. And the names I rolled off to you earlier, you know them. And these are the people that I grew up with, and then my childhood friends swimming. And they had an impact on national, world, Olympic level. Sean Killian had the American record in an 800 free for at least 8 or 9, 10 years. I mean, he stood forever. I remember the time, 7:52, I think it was, 7:52:45. But he was one of the people that got shafted with that boycott of the Olympics. But great swimmer and a distance guy. But we used to battle out relays with him, and as an age grouper. And I remember we swam a lot with Willingboro. He was at Willingboro Country Club in Jersey Wahoos, and then you had Upper Mainline Y, and people like Chris Kraft, Mitch Bormack, and we used to always battle with them. And I remember one of the swimmers reached out to me and told me, he said, our coach told us that you guys are going to sit back, and when you get older, you're going to realize just how big this is right now. But what they're doing is really big. And she was a big supporter of ours. But so we had, when you talk about these microaggressions that are going on right now, there are also a lot of positive things that went on as well, because this is in the 70s. You had people that really looked out for us, wanted to see us succeed, and kind of like worked with Jim, and like, because he was always a student of the sport, still is to this day. He wanted to be better, and they helped us get from the team that was battling out with the 2 other teams in Philadelphia to being a team that was, prominent on a national stage. And in 1994, the U.S. Junior Nationals were in Michigan, and I think we got at Ann Arbor in Canham Natatorium, we got 4th. Team, I think we got 4th. Yeah, we were the one place from getting a team trophy. And it was a predominantly black team. And by that time, floodgates had opened up. That's around when Kevin Hart was swimming on the team as well. Then the team ended up getting close to 50-50. I mean, because like I said, Jim's a great coach. Product speak for itself. Results are what they are. And he was a lot of fun to be around. And you had, people leaving other teams come swim for him that were not black. I mean, you had the phenomenon, all the national level black swimmers that could get to Philly for the summer, if they were in college, they wanted to come swim Philly. Okay. We had several that did that.
Yeah. And then transcends everything.
But I think, I was at that meet. We got, I think it was 4th. We just missed getting a team trophy, which is crazy. Wow. We had someone swimming in every event. So we took the stereotype, you can only sprint, and we threw that away. We had someone in the 50th of the mile, all the backstrokes, all the breaststrokes, butterflies, frees, IMs, all 3 relays, both sexes. And we got 4th.
You're talking about the footprint of PDR and it's massive and it's amazing, but swimming is a lot more than just success. And you brought up Kevin Hart. Kevin Hart is one of the biggest. He's the biggest comedian on the planet. It's visible from every. You name it, he does it. Well, could he swim fast? He's got it. Well, he's got
to tell you, he's been on a couple podcasts and he's talked about it. So he will fool anyone if he gets in the pool and you're going to think, okay, this guy can't swim. And his butterfly was perfect. Okay, and you're a butterflyer. You're an Olympic champion butterflyer. His butterfly is pretty. Okay, he was not as we usually went lane 1 was the fastest, and the fastest interval was over lane 6. He was usually in lane 5 or 6. But he'll readily admit that. But that was also a testament to how good the team was. And like I said, that's when we used to have to split ends. You have 3 or 4 people pushing from each end, all 6 lanes packed. And you would, for the first 4 lanes across, the person going first and second at each end, but all had national cuts. Okay, it was crazy. We had a great time, And
good atmosphere for him. Positive. It impacted his life and his confidence going forward, because that's what swimming does. I just had to ask the question because I thought it was funny. But like Kevin,
he always would tell jokes. I'll tell you that. When I was coaching, he would have if he missed an interval, and when I was coaching in the summers in between at UVA, when I was at home before I went back, and you coach it a little bit, the age group practices, or he would always have some smart remark or something funny to say at all times. So it's no surprise he's doing what he's doing right now. And we're all behind him. We're all happy for him.
As we share with everybody that's listening, we brought Trevor on because we wanted PDR history. We want to know about the footprint and the roots and the impact on swim. And it's deep and it's massive, and you did it very quickly. We're down to 7 minutes. We started off with a pretty tough question, and you gave us a concise answer with a very powerful medical metaphor in terms of racism is cancer, and when someone has cancer, they react immediately. A tall order for us is how we're going to go forward in our sport and how we're going to make our sport look more like the United States. And I don't have answers for that. I can start being creative and list them off. But we need towering figures like Jim Ellis, and we need support. I'm sure you've thought about it. It's if you had a plan, a war plan to move forward, what are some things that you'd want to see happen? And we might get into this, and we might have to bring you back to talk about it.
Well, you have to just normalize the ability to have access. First of all, I love Make a Splash with generally, my buddy Cullen Jones started, really working with that across the country as he, became so infamous as a double Olympian and multiple Olympic gold medalist and world record holder. That you need to learn how to swim, be safe in the water, because he almost drowned. That's how he learned how to swim. And so we need to get more people of color swimming. And most people of color do not swim. Once we do that, then we can show people the avenues that exist if you choose to go the path of, okay, I want to take the skill that I've learned and take it into be a sport and swim and see what exists, because most people don't know what swimming entails in terms of competitive swimming, the hours, the monetary sacrifice, what it takes, that commitment, the time commitment. But given the success, with 1.5% of the people in terms of African Americans swimming in this country, given the level of success we see at the top line, the faces we see, that just shows you what will happen and the depth that you're going to see in U.S. swimming if they make that number 25% or 50%, which I don't think should be unrealistic, because it's a life skill. And this country is built around bodies of water, and you should be able to exist in that and save your life. And then if you choose to take it further, you take it further. But if you just have that foundation, then I think we can help change that.
Learning how to swim is a right, and it needs to be a right for every kid in the United States. And that starts to open the door. It's access to pools. It's access to pools. And if you go into our cities are historically designed to separate minorities, blacks, and whites. We're talking to you from our HQ in Austin, Texas, and I-35 was designed to split the city for that very reason. And if you spend time on the west side, a lot of great pools. East side, I challenge you to find a great pool. I think there might be a pool or two, but that's just investment in our society. Period. It's in terms of something came to mind. It was really important, and I've completely forgot it. It's when you were thinking about 1.5%, you're talking about the success rate. It's let's just go ahead and say, here's an exclusive on the podcast right now. Reese Whitley is on the cover of the next issue of SwimSwam magazine. He's on the cover because he's leading Cal, and Cal is in the hunt to win the NC2As. God, hoping we have an NC2As. The success for Team USA on the world stage is it's massive in terms of our talent that we have now, and and talent is rising faster. Whenever there's someone new, you always say, "Hey Mel, keep your eyes open here. Who are you seeing that's rising talent? It's a black swimmer in America," and you're like, "You got to pay attention."
Right now, well, Reese is established. If you see people coming up, you have the Ouellette sisters in Georgia. They're amazing, both of them. I think that they're going to do great things. And you're seeing, I haven't been as in touch with, I've seen their successes. I haven't seen many others, but that I might just be out of touch with that. I've been kind of busy right now and haven't traveled to some of the meets like I would have liked to last year. And obviously this year they got curtailed. But I know the Ouellette sisters are really doing some big things. And then you also have Jack Levant at Stanford. And you have, obviously I'm going to talk about my UVA swimmers, but you have Sabir Muhammad's son, who's coming to UVA. And he's going to be swimming with Todd Sorbo. So from what I know of Kamal, his talents fit right into what the UVA program and Sorbo's skills are going to look to enhance. So I think those are some of the few, but right there, 3 of them are coming out of the city of Atlanta. And then Jack Levance, I think he's a West Coast guy. I mean, he was, 2/10 or a 10th off of making the 4x2 relay for Pan Pacs. And, he was in high school. So, there's a plethora of talent out there. And it's there are going to be some really good things that can get done. And don't forget Alexis Wenger at UVA. So I think she's going to be a 100 breaststroke NCAA champion before it's over. So, there's a considerable talent pool out there, and there's so much yet to be tapped. But between Alexis, Kamal, the Ouellette girls, and Jack, they're going to join Reese, and you still got Giles swimming, you got Simone, Leah, Irvin's still in the water. So there's a plethora of people swimming.
Irvin's
and don't forget my girl Natalie Hines either.
Okay, that's what Natalie's
doing some things.
I love Irvin, but he's sort of in the water. He's sort of in the water. He's doing it to look good.
They said that in 2016, and he won.
All right, we're going to have to bring you back on because you're so interesting and you understand the sport and from in a way that is impressive. Like I said before, there's like 3 or 4 people on earth who know what you know about swimming as a whole. But you have any parting thoughts? We're down to like 30 seconds.
I just want to thank you really for asking me to come on and do this. I did not do things like this, but I thought that this was necessary, and you asked me. And thank you for your friendship and allowing me to learn more about you, and but allowing to tell a story about PDR. I think Jim Ellis was a pioneer in the sport, and what he did was just phenomenal. And we sit back and laugh about a bunch of our alums as well as Jim and I, because we had a mission and a plan we wanted to execute. And looking at what's going on right now, both from social unrest as well as just, the state of the country right now, what we did and the way we did it and the friendships that we made, the positive things were just amazing. And I think if we can get back to those basics, that'll solve a lot of issues that we have right now. But we got to eradicate this cancer called racism, and I think get more people of color into the water, and you're going to see just excellent things happen.
You've been listening to the SwimSwam podcast. Stay tuned for new episodes every week. You can take SwimSwam podcast on the go by subscribing on your favorite podcast platform. Look for links in the description below, and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more videos as well.